Hi everyone, this is Kalyan Kumar this side and welcome back to Chemistry Universe. We are doing carbohydrates and this is video number 9, part 9. And in this video, we're going to look at disaccharides. Now, as I had mentioned in the introduction of carbohydrates, monosaccharides are the monomers and we saw glucose, fructose, and we studied in detail their open chain structure, their ring structure, but they were all monosaccharides. They were all basic units, monomers. When these monomers combine with each other, if two monomers combine, they form a dimer. But we don't actually call them as dimer, we call them as disaccharides. Because these two units could be same monomers or could be different monomers. So we call them as disaccharides. So we are going to look at what are the most important disaccharides are, what is the structure and what are their properties. So let's get on with the video. All right, so part 9, disaccharides. And we're going to kick it off with sucrose. Sucrose is C12H22O11, also known as cane sugar. And we'll find out why. Well, it's a white, crystalline and a sweet substance soluble in water obtained from sugarcane. So this is the table sugar that we generally consume. The white table sugar or the brown table sugar, depending upon whether it is refined or not. But the fact of the matter is that this is what we consume as table sugar, sucrose. Now, when heated above its melting point, it forms a brown substance known as caramel. And we're going to look at what this caramel appears to be and what happens on heating a little later when we do the tests. Now, sucrose, its aqueous solution is dextrorotatory. This is the naturally occurring sucrose. And its specific rotation is 66.5 positive. And when you do the hydrolysis of this, it tells you what it is made up of. In acidic medium, we do the hydrolysis. Remember, acidic medium, both hemiacetal and the ketyl rings and the acetyl rings, they all open up. And it gives you glucose and fructose. That means it is made up of glucose and fructose. And the rotation of sucrose, as we know, specific rotation is 66.5. Glucose is 52.7 positive. And fructose is negative 92.4. So hydrolysis of sucrose brings about a change in the sign of rotation from dextro to levo. So if 1 mole of sucrose were to be hydrolyzed, it will give you 1 mole of glucose and 1 mole of fructose. And if you look at their values, you will find that 1 mole of fructose has more negative rotation than 1 mole of glucose does. So basically during this hydrolysis, we will find that there is not only a change in the angle of rotation, there is also a change in the direction of rotation. Such a change is called inversion of cane sugar and the mixture is known as invert cane sugar. So you can understand why it's called inversion of cane sugar because of the direction of rotation changing. Now let's understand what a sucrose molecule looks like. Now 1 molecule of sucrose is made up of 1 molecule of alpha D glucopyranose, the 6-membered ring, and 1 molecule of beta D fructofuranose. It's a 5-membered ring. So this is the glucose part. This is alpha D glucopyranose. You can check it because we've already shown you how to make these Haworth projections. And then we are going to talk about alpha D fructofuranose, but I'm going to do a little bit of change in this. I'm going to write it like this. Now basically, if you remember, what we would do is we would make a 5-membered ring. And we'll put the ether O here and we'll say if it is D, then you put the CH2OH on top. And for beta, you put the OH on top and the CH2OH at the bottom, and then things go right and left based on wherever the OH are. What I've done is I've basically flipped this around this axis in the plane of the 5-membered ring. So when I flip this thing goes on top and this thing goes at the bottom. It is like this. So remember, basically what I'm saying is This is the anomeric anomeric OH. This is carbon number 1. Generally, we used to have the carbon number 1 on the right side. I have flipped it. Now, why have I flipped it? Because what is happening is that this OH and this H, I mean, of course, we don't really know which O actually goes, but assuming this OH and this H goes, they go as water, and there is an ether linkage between this carbon and this O and this carbon. So carbon, O, carbon, there's an ether linkage. And this is an anomeric OH. This is the anomeric OH. So basically what is happening is that these two molecules react with their anomeric OH groups by losing a molecule of water and forming a stable acetal linkage. So this is what is happening. This is going. So can you see there won't be any hemiacetal in the actual disaccharide? Would it not be looking like this? Can you see this carbon which has the ether O as another ether? This carbon which has the ether O as another ether. It is not a hemiacetal, it's an acetal ring, which means it will not react in basic medium but only hydrolyze in acidic medium. Which is why you would have realized when we did reducing and non-reducing classification of sugars, we had put sucrose in the non-reducing form. Non-reducing form because it has an acetal linkage. An acetal linkage do not break under basic medium. And all the reducing glucose and reducing sugars, they all end up reacting with Fehling solutions, Tollens reagent and all of that. And they all have basic medium in that. So the fact of the matter is Fehling's reagent can only react with an aldehyde part. So if it were a hemiacetal ring, then the basic medium would, hydrolyze it back to the open chain. And open chain, you have the aldehyde, if it is glucose, and, alpha primary hydroxy ketone, if it is fructose, and they both react with Fehling solution and Tollens reagent. But if the compound has an acetal linkage, it will not break in basic medium. Therefore, Fehling solution will not be able to react with it because it cannot convert that into the open chain form. But remember, sucrose did get hydrolyzed in acidic medium because acetals and ketones, they react in acidic medium. It's only the hemiacetals which can also react in basic medium. So this is called alpha D-glucopyranosyl, beta D-fructofuranocide, and this basically is based on the alphabetical order. G comes first and F comes later. Otherwise, it could be beta D-fructofuranocil and alpha D-glucopyranoside, but we basically write it in alphabetical order. Now, sucrose is a non-reducing sugar because it has stable acetal linkage, and in aqueous solution, it cannot give free carbonyl group, and so it does not reduce Fehling's and Tollens reagent, which we already discussed, and doesn't show muta rotation for the same reason, and it is stable acetal linkage, so that's fine. Let's look at maltose. That is the second disaccharide. Again, the formula is the same. Now, this is obtained by the partial hydrolysis of starch by the enzyme diastase present in malt, that is sprouted barley seeds. So you have starch and you do the hydrolysis in the presence of an enzyme. Enzyme is the catalyst and it gives you the maltose, C12H22O11. Now maltose is made up of 2 alpha D glucose units in pyranose form. So there are 2 6-membered alpha D glucose. C1 of one glucose unit is linked to C4 of the other, which clearly means one hemiacetal linkage is still open. It's still available. This implies that at least one glucose unit has an intact hemiacetal ring that allows it to be reduced. Say for example, this is alpha D glucopyranose, another alpha D glucopyranose, but this anomeric OH will react with C4. This is C1, this is C2, this is C3, this is C4. So these two OHs react, so which means it leaves this as the hemiacetal part. So they react and you get this. And here you can say it is alpha D glucopyranosyl, alpha D glucopyranoside. Now maltose forms osazone for the same reason. It undergoes muta-rotation again because hemiacetal also reduces Tollens and Fehling's due to the existence of hemiacetal linkage. So this is how important the hemiacetal and acetal linkages are. And the third one that we're going to do is lactose, found in milk sugar. So remember, milk also is kind of sweet. So you don't find it sweet as such because the lactose that you have is, first of all, not that much in amount, but sufficient to give you a little bit of a sweet taste. And lactose by itself is not as sweet as glucose would be. So lactose occurs in milk, and that is why it is called milk sugar. It is made up of one molecule of beta D glucose and one beta D galactose. And the C1 of the galactose is linked with the C4 of glucose, again leaving one hemiacetal intact. This implies again that at least one glucose unit has an intact hemiacetal link, and all of that reactions are shown, OSA zone, and etc. So this is the galactose, and this is the glucose, and the C1 which is on top and the C4 which is at the bottom, they are the ones which are linking up. I mean, the easier way would have been if I flipped the glucose to make its OH go up. That would have been easier, but that would be a little more confusing. So I thought maybe we could do this, but you can do that also. And that way you can get this unit. And as you can see, the left one is the glucose part. This part is the, this is the galactose part, and this is the glucose part because it is the C1 which is reaching. And this hemiacetal part is intact. And with that, we come to the end of this particular video, which is disaccharides. So that is how disaccharides are, that is how they exist. And you can see some of them are reducing, some of them are non-reducing, and it all depends upon the kind of linkages that they have. But all of them have the same type of linkage where the OH and the H of the other, they form water. So they are all basically ether linkages that connect these monosaccharides together. So with that out of the way, this is Kalyan Kumar signing off. Have a great and wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next one.